Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. Today I'm wearing my E30 Doodle t-shirt, which you can get down in the description. And the reason for that is because BMW has just released their brand new 2022 BMW i4. It's an all-electric car, and today in this video I want to talk about, of course, the design, the rear, the side, and the front, and the spec and tech of this car. Last but not least, I want to redesign the front end to make it more of a harmonious design, in my opinion. So with that said, let's jump in and have a look at the rear view right here. This is, of course, the 2022 BMW i4 right here. Let's start talking about the rear view. This is probably the view that I like the most with the BMW i4. I think it looks like a decent looking car. Somehow even the front end feels like it suits better. It fits better on the i4 than it does the regular 4 Series, for example, or even the M4. I think the reason for that is because there are a lot more things going on in the rear end of this car. Right here, as you can see, these wings and fenders going in and kind of cuts into the body line. What I would like to do if I was focusing on the rear view of this in this video, the redesign of the rear view, I would want to have some more structure here and build, maybe remove this intake that cuts into the body, maybe have a little less creases. You can see all these creases and stuff going on in the rear end. It looks a little bit too busy, but what I do like about the i4 design is the treatment of the graphic design. I think that really helps the design overall. And what I mean by the graphics is I like that they have this blue graphics continuing all around the car. You have it right here in the rear in these diffusers down here. Then you have it in the BMW 7 Series L shape right here, which we're used to seeing in the 7 Series. And of course, you have it in the front as well. So if we look at the side view here, a couple of things that I want to talk about here. First is the treatment of this area in the BMW. We don't have the kink that I think is a shame that BMW is going away from that, because that's a detail that doesn't really affect anything else. It's just almost like a trademark for BMW to have this kink here that you usually see in the far end of the window. It looks something like this. We can fake liquefy it and see if we can get it to look like the older or the traditional BMW ending of the window here, and it looks something like this. Very simple change that would be so easily implemented in this design, and I think they should have gone with this type of ending of the window line, because it's part of BMW's history. I think one of the problems that I see now when companies go into electric cars, it's like they're almost abandoning all their design history to create something brand new. And in some cases that works. For example, the Hyundai creating the Ioniq sub-brand, I think that works with them, but it doesn't work for a brand like BMW, because they already had the I brand available for such a long time that it's not really a new sub-brand of BMW. I would prefer if they kept some of these small design details that they've had throughout history and implemented that onto these new electric cars as well. And have a look at the shoulder line here. That's another part I wish they did differently on specifically the M4, which I've made a video on before. If you want to go and check that out, I'll link it up here and down in the description. But what I want to do with the shoulder line is which I'm going to do in the front redesign as well, but just have one continuous shoulder line and not have different types of sharpness on the shoulder like we have here. So what I mean by that is we have different heights of the shoulder line, and we also, on top of that, have different types of definitions and sharpness on the shoulder. So we have one shoulder right here. As you can see, when I remove these lines, I just want to show you the three different lines here that we have in the shoulder first, but then I'm going to show you the difference in the sharpness as well. Then we have the most defined line, which is this one right here, and then we have a third that goes somewhere around here. It's kind of hard to see because this is a white car, so you can't really see the lines that well. So these are the three kind of lines that makes up the shoulder. What I want to do is have this definition. You can see how sharp and beautiful that line is. It kind of cuts through an otherwise very smooth body line. I like that. I like when you have a smooth body line with not a lot of styling features, and then you have one or two defining key lines on the right places within that smooth surface. So what I would like to do here is to just bring this shoulder line up, which I'm going to do in the redesign, as I said, and you can see that this shoulder in the rear here, it's a lot more smoother and rounded here than it is right here. Here it's a lot sharper in the middle than it is up here, and also very smooth here in the front. So what I want to do is to add this sharpness and have one continuous line. Very simple, go something like this. Something like that, because I think that would add structure to this design, and it would bring up the shoulders on the car. It's not gonna look like it has a collarbone that's broken or something like that, because it dips down right here and it goes into this lower part of the shoulder. And on top of that, it's also going to play well with this line here. Typical BMW with these two lines right here. It's just beautiful. I think it's not something that they necessarily need to move away from. But at the same time here, I think the overall proportions of this car, it looks good. It looks like a regular ICE car, which is surprising since there is no engine here up front. I'm pretty sure this is just a single motor, so we don't have an engine up here. I'm interested to see how much of luggage space you have in the front here since the engine is removed. Now, let's have a look at the front here, and this is the big deal with the i4 and BMW right now in general, the design of the front end. There's a lot of talk about these big kidneys here, almost like teeth. So what I want to do here is redesign the front end. I think it's a little bit too busy for my taste, and I think the grills still, they have the problem that the shape of the grill here and the corners, the edges, the angles of this, it's just too much going on in these grills here. So I want to add some structure to the grills. Same with the pattern that's inside of the grill here. It's too much, it's too many impressions coming at you at once, and it doesn't play well with the headlights either. So there's a lot of clashing in shapes and lines going on here. That's kind of what I want to focus on and redesign it and make it more like as it would look like the front features, the graphic features of the front play along better together. Because look at the front here and then have a look at the side. There's nothing going on here. It's a very smooth side, but there's just too much going on in the front. As I showed before, with a piece of paper like this. This is the BMW. Let's say this is a dirty old piece of paper, but it's all clean. It doesn't have any creases or anything on it. But what BMW looks like to me is like the first half right here is crumpled. I think I showed this on the BMW M4 video. I did the same thing. So this is what it looks like. There's a lot going on in the front, and same thing in the rear. There's a lot going on in the rear as well, but in the middle we have a smooth surface right here in the middle, a lot of creases and stuff going on right here in the front, a lot going on in the back. Two solutions to this: you can either crumple the whole car and make a lot going on in the side as well. I just don't think that's the right way to go. I want to tone down the front end and make it more harmonious with the rest of the car, and specifically with the side of the car. So that's what we're gonna do right now. We're gonna continue here in Photoshop and redesign the front end. Let's talk about some of the spec and tech here of the 2022 BMW i4 while we go through this front redesign here. So the size of the i4 is very similar to the BMW 3 Series, but here with the i4, they call it in BMW language a Grand Coupe instead of a sedan or saloon because of the sloping roofline. And I'm not sure there is a clear definition anymore of what's allowed to be called a coupe, since it's being thrown around on all types of body styles from sedans to SUVs, but that's what BMW decided to call this body style. Now the i4 in its most powerful version puts out a massive 530 horsepower, which is more than the brand new M3 competition that has 510 horsepower, and the acceleration is very similar at around 4 seconds from 0 to 60 miles per hour. The range is estimated at around 300 to 350 miles on a single charge, which seems pretty decent, but we'll have to wait and see what the real world numbers are, since it's often a bit optimistic and tends to be a little bit lower than advertised when it's tested out in the real world. The i4 will be compatible with 150 kilowatt charging points, which allows for 0 to 80% of charge time in just 35 minutes, and this is also pretty standard these days with brand new EVs. The car is set to go on sale this year around November, December, and the price is expected to start around $50,000 to compete with, for example, the Tesla Model 3 long range and the Polestar 2. Now let's talk about the design here and what's going on in the redesign. So the thing that I think BMW is doing right now, I think they're trying to find a new identity for their design language, and it's going in all kinds of directions. We have still the traditional kidney design on, for example, the 8 series, the X5 and the X3 and so on, and then you have a different designs when it comes to the 4 series, which is completely different from the rest of the lineup. So I think they're trying to experiment with new shapes, and I really appreciate when companies do that and not get stuck in their old ways. But at the same time, what I think is important here is to keep the fundamentals of what a good car design is when it comes to proportions, when it comes to line flow and graphic design. And that's where I think BMW is having some issues right now. Most visibly, it's in the BMW iX concept that was just unveiled as well a couple of months back, which is their electric SUV. I think that car just shows the type of issues that BMW has with proportions, graphics, and overall good design. There are too many things in that design that that looks like they could be from completely different cars and then just mashed together onto this surface that is the iX. And I think the i4, as I said, I think this looks better than the 4 Series Coupe. I think the kidneys in the front, they suit the i4 better than it suits, for example, the M4. And as I said, I think the reason for that is the play with graphic design. You have a lot of blue connecting graphic features on both the front, the side, and the rear. And I think that helps to bring or to tie everything together a little bit better. But what I want to do in this redesign is just clean up the front and make it more harmonious and make it not so busy as it is right here, and also make it a proper EV looking front end. We don't need the blacked out kidneys anymore because there's not any intake. You don't need to have you don't need cooling to come in from the kidneys anymore. So why not cover that up and maybe have some sort of pattern in those kidneys to separate that from the rest of the body style and have that be still resemblant of the original kidneys with a different pattern stamped almost on top of the kidneys in comparison to the smooth rest of the body, and that will then separate that specific design feature in the front from everything else. And I think that would be an interesting approach to the new I design language. And on top of that, play around a little bit with the headlights and have some more structure. There's a lot of curvatures, different type of radiuses going on in the outline of the headlights, so that's another thing that I wanted to focus on here and just touch up a little bit. But overall, the idea was to bring in the electric vehicle vibe in the front end of the new i4, and that's the approach that I decided to go with here, and I think it turned out really cool. Let me know what you think about the redesign in the comments below. I'm TheSketchMonkey. Thanks as always for watching. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.